The other day my buddy asked if he could borrow my hi-hat mounted shaker, and I went to go get it, and I guess at some point I decided to take it apart, so I thought I'll bring you guys along and show you how I made it. And two things before we start. First of all, I have a really old video on this, so you might have seen it before, but the video is just poorly made and really bad, so I thought I'd remake it. And second, this is not my design, this is Glenn Kotche's design, or Glenn Kotche is how you actually say it. I actually just learned that today. So you've probably seen him use this before, but the way I learned about it was an article, I think, from Modern Drummer, so I'll leave a link to that in the description. To make this, all you need is a hi-hat clutch, some cymbal washers, some tape, and these are LP one-shots, which I'll talk about in a second. And to make this a lot easier, if you have a pair of channel locks or pliers, these will really help you out. So to start, all we gotta do is take apart the hi-hat clutch. And from the clutch, you don't need the felts. And depending on the type of clutch that you're using, you might be able to use the bottom piece that, bottoms out on the threads. But with this clutch, I'll need to use this piece, which will make sense when I put it together. Which means I won't need this piece. And I know I said in the beginning of the video that you'll need some cymbal washers, but I only have one that fits on the hi-hat clutch. All these other ones, the hole is too small and it won't fit on the clutch. And even if you did drill it out bigger, you'd have to flatten out the washer. So a better option would be to find a regular washer that fits on the clutch. Latin Percussion makes these shakers called one-shots, and they're a little bit different than a regular shaker. So when you play a regular shaker, it plays on the forward stroke and the back stroke. But the one-shots only play on the forward stroke or the back stroke, depending on how you orient them. And then if you flip them around, then they'll only play on the backstroke. So these are the ideal shakers to use just because of the way they sound, and also the fact that they're square makes it easy to mount them to the clutch. When you put these together, you need to make sure that the side that makes the sound is facing down. So the side with the thumbprints needs to face up. So I'm going to assemble this sideways just to make it easier to film. So this side over here will be the top of the clutch. So you'll take your clutch with one of the twisty things and then a washer. And then we'll take the other washer and put it on and space it like so. And then I'll take the other shaker, making sure that it's facing the right way. Put it like that. And then take your bottom nut and twist it on. Looks good to me. And now I'll put a piece of tape around each end of the one shot. And when you do this, you want to make sure that you don't use too much tape, because if you really overdo it, then it'll muffle the shaker. And while the clutch is still loose, it's a good time to orient it whichever way you want it. So I'll just put it like that. And once you got everything how you want it, you just want to flip it over and tighten this up. And there you go. So to be 100% honest with you guys, this thing is really subtle. You probably couldn't even hear that. But in the same article, Glenn talks about this thing, which actually works pretty well. All this thing is some egg shakers taped to some barbecue skewers mounted to a hi-hat clutch, and this thing actually works pretty well. you guys are probably saying, well, why don't you just mount a regular shaker like this? But the thing about doing that is it takes a lot of momentum to get the beads inside of a full-size shaker to move up and down. So to mount it on a hi-hat like this, it basically makes no sound. Ask me how I know. And yes, I know these are maracas, not a shaker, but it's the same concept. But if you really want to be like Glenn, just put a whole bunch of crap on your hi-hats and you'll be good to go.